Hey guys, welcome back, or welcome. I'm Meg. This is the Megawhoppingcosmicbookwyrm channel. It's a mouthful, I know. I apologize. I didn't really think about me having to say it or other people having to say it when I first made the username for Litzy. I was just being obnoxious and trying to use up the letter count. And then I just kept using that username for all of this book-related stuff. So I kind of didn't make it easy on myself or anybody else. But anyway, so there may be a few little differences that some people might notice. So I'm standing up, just trying to do something different because sitting down is just boring. Like I'm very animated, and so it helps to be able to like move, even if it's just shifting and stuff. So some people might find it annoying. Let me know, whatever. Also, instead of doing my from best to or worst to best books, this time I'm just going to do them in order. And I didn't have a whole lot of books for June. One of the reasons is that the book that I'm currently reading is really taking me a while. Not because it's long or anything, but because like I don't really want to read it. It's not bad enough for me to like DNF, but it's also not good enough for me to like want to like eat it up. So well, and I'm only reading one book right now, which normally I have like at least two books that I can kind of like bounce back and forth between. So I don't know why. I'm just kind of in a weird time right now. But also just recently my husband bought me Baldur's Gate 3 on the PlayStation 5, so that's taken up like all of my any like free time that I have to read. I'm like, no, I'm gonna play video games instead. so that's you can blame Baldur's Gate 3. If you know, you know. If you play it, you know how addictive it is. So let's get right into it. So the first book that I read for, you know what, actually it might be, I'm never prepared for these. I really should prepare more for these, but I never do. So pretty sure the first book that I read was Star Trek The Next Generation Encounter at Farpoint. It's like the first Star Trek Next Generation book. It's not one of the numbered ones, but it's a novelization of the very first episode, kind of like the pilot episode for the Next Generation TV series. It was really good. It's basically the episode, so if you've seen the episode, you've pretty much read the book. But there were a few weird things in this where, like, for instance, they call Will Riker, they call him Bill in this a couple times instead of Will. And then there were a few times where the way that they wrote Data, I was like, I don't think they've actually quite seen Brent Spiner play Data yet. Although I know like first season, especially the early episodes, Data was a little bit more like, I don't know, there's a point in the very first episode, this episode, where he kind of like smiles a little bit at Will Riker when he whistles, and that's not like a very Data thing to do. But anyway, they hadn't quite figured out the character, I think. But yeah, so it's basically just a novelization of the episode. Since this is a June wrap-up, or a month wrap-up, I'm just kind of trying to like rapid fire these before I've gotten a little too detailed in my wrap-ups, and I've almost done like full reviews of each book. So if you liked that better, let me know. If you like the short version, let me know. I don't know. Opinions matter. So, and that was for Book Trek, which is going on from June through August. Hosted by Revenant Reads. I will tag all sorts of people and do the hashtags of everything down below. The second book I read was To Tame a Land by Louis L'Amour. This is the first Louis L'Amour book I've ever read, and I actually really liked it. I really liked Rye, the main character. What I really liked about this was that I think, so there's a weird preconception of Westerns that they glorify violence and guns. And while there is gun violence in Westerns, kind of like there's lightsaber violence in a Star Wars movie or a Star Wars book, I don't think it's ever usually typically like a glorified thing, at least in my experience, both with Westerns in film and Westerns in book form. The Westerns in film, I think, because it's Hollywood and it's, you know, they can sort of go a little bit with glamorizing or kind of worshiping guns in a way. But I think that's more Hollywood than the actual spirit of a Western. I think most people that know about guns, that have handled guns, most, not all, most, understand that you have to respect the guns and that they're not necessarily the first tool that you want to pick up to solve every single problem. And so that's kind of the key theme for this book, is that Rye is a very like reluctant kind of gunslinger character. He does it when he has to, but he doesn't revel in it, and he sees the dark path that it could possibly take him down, and he tries his best to stay away from that, but also he's not going to let people push him around and let bad people do bad things. So yeah, so it's a really, really good book. There's like a little bit of a weird, not weird, there's a little bit of like a kind of love story that is sort of the main plot to it, but also not. It's a very short book, as you can see. It's not like it's a romance book, so don't go into it looking for that. Although Rye, I am in love with him. He's awesome. There's also he has to face kind of difficult choices, not just with the guns, but with other things throughout his entire life. I don't know. It's a really, really good book, really, really good character. So that was my second read. I gave both of those 4 stars. Sorry, I keep forgetting to tell my ratings. So, Star Trek: The Next Generation Ghost Ship. I went into this knowing that a lot of other people kind of had warned me that this was not their favorite Star Trek Next Generation novel, and I can see why. It's very, very, very strange. It's by Diana Carey. I don't think so. I think I looked it up. It was Star Trek debuted, the TV show premiered in September 1987, and this was published in 1988. So it was published a year after the show started, but I feel like it was probably being written before the show had started. And I don't know how much of the actors Diana Carey had in character had seen, because there's an awful lot of weird moments where the characters are very out of character. Like, it's almost an alternate universe fan fiction. Like, it's very strange. Will Riker, which again, they have Deanna call him Bill in this. Everyone else calls him Will this time, but Deanna calls him Bill, which she doesn't do that in the TV show, so I don't know why. And Carrie has a really weird explanation for why she calls him Bill. And I thought it was a really stupid explanation, but anyway, I digress. Will is like an absolute tyrant, like a psychopath kind of character in this. Like, it's like he's never been on a starship before, even though he's, you know, the rank that he is for the Enterprise. You don't get to be first officer and act like this. Like, it's very strange. I just feel like they hadn't, when she was writing this, Carrie hadn't seen any of the show, any of the actors, how they portrayed their characters. She was just going off like script and descriptions of what the actors looked like, and that was it. So yeah, Will is very strange in this. Data is even more like not Data in this book. There are times where he has like actual emotional reactions to things, like he pouts at one point. Data doesn't care whether you hurt his feelings or not. It's weird. And then Geordi, although I did appreciate how protective he was being of Data, that was enjoyable for me because I do kind of like the weird Data Geordi ship thing. Not weird. It's not everyone else's favorite thing, so I enjoy it though. So he's very protective of him, but to a point where he was forgetting that he was an officer on an Enterprise. He's being completely insubordinate to Riker, instead of like maybe just complaining to the next like person that could actually do something about it. Like they're having like these weird like standoffs and stuff, and I don't know. It was very AU. So, but it wasn't horrible. Like I was still able to get through it. So, the other thing I didn't really like was the premise basically is that there's this entity out in the galaxy that at one time swept through Earth and took up a ship of like Russian naval officers, and then it never visited Earth again, and it went off into the galaxy, and no one else in all of Star Trek history of the history of the Federation has encountered this entity up until these idiots run across it again, and suddenly they have to deal with it. And it's not really a ghost ship. I really didn't like. I don't enjoy the misleading title, and I don't enjoy whatever that is. That's not the Enterprise. I don't know if you can see it. That's not the Enterprise. I think it was supposed to be a ship. I don't, but there's no ship. I don't know. Anyway, so not terrible, but definitely not my favorite. This one I only gave 3 stars. So it's staying with me because it's a Star Trek book, but other than that, it's not anything to write home about. So next was Zane Grey's The Spirit of the Border. Sorry, the Westerns I was reading because of June on the Range, which is being hosted by Michael K. Vaughan. You would think after however many videos I've done that I would be able to get through this without being an idiot, but we'll get there someday. Someday I'll be a pro. So anyway, so actually what I really liked about my copy is that it's like super old. It's from, so the copyright is 1906, and then this was published in, oh no, okay. So this one was published in 1944, March of 1944. And it says, because of the acute shortage of regular book cloth under wartime rationing, this book is bound in leatherette, a sturdy paper fabric especially designed for this purpose. So I thought that was pretty cool. The neat kind of piece of history there in that. So yeah, it's a very old book. It is almost 100 years. Almost 100 years old. Yeah. Yeah. 20 more years and it'll be 100. It's crazy. Anyway. So it's 80, right? So math is not my strong suit. But this one, this one is going to be hard to do a short wrap up on. So this one I might have to do a longer review on. I don't know how much of a longer review I'm going to do for any of these books, just because Baldur's Gate. I'm just going to be honest. The game I am obsessed. I'm only doing this to try to keep up with things. So this video, and then the next video will be like this is what I'm going to read next, and then you probably won't see me again for another month. But anyway, so I didn't like this one nearly as much as the Louis L'Amour book, or really any other Western that I've ever read. All of the characters, like every single character, is completely unlikable. I didn't like even the few characters that I like thought initially that I would enjoy and like. I really don't. And I like morally gray characters. I like villains. I like depth to characters, so like multi-layered characters. They don't need to be perfect heroes or like good people to make me like them. But I just could not mesh with really anybody in this book. A lot of things happen and you're just kind of like, why did the author choose to do that? I did enjoy the fact that the author, Zane Grey, made it very clear that it wasn't like white people versus Indians and the white people were in the right. He actually more implies that the reason that the border is in so much turmoil and is such a shit show is that the white people are just moseying in where they're not welcome, where they're doing a lot of damage to the natives that are there. So I did enjoy that. But then there were other parts where he implies that like Christianity is going to be the saving grace of humanity and especially the indigenous people. And he has a character that's like a priest, and the priest kind of attempts to use the Native Americans' mythology to try to say that his God is the same as their Great Spirit. And I think that's an absolute complete misunderstanding of who the Great Spirit is, or of who God is. I don't know, one of the two, or both. I don't know. And the female characters are in here to be kidnapped, killed, and to faint a lot. That's what they do. Which again, I don't expect a lot of female representation in the old Westerns. I'm not surprised, but at the same time, I'm just kind of like, he does have like a strong, this is a second book in a series, which I didn't know until I was about halfway through. You don't really need to read the first one to read this one. They're standalone books, but there is a character in this, a female character who I guess is like the main character in the previous book. And she seemed interesting and like she could hold her own, but she's just basically kind of like an NPC, like a side character, video game lingo, I'm sorry, in one of the colonies or like little villages or whatever that they like pass through to get to this other place where everything goes down. So the love interests are kind of weird in this, where like the one guy is like head over heels over this girl and then decides, no, you know what, never mind, my brother can have her. And then he's rescued by another person and he instantly falls. It's like insta love. I hate insta love, so I don't know. Anyway, not my favorite. I'm gonna keep it because it is a very old book. I think it's really cool. But so yeah, that one only got 3 stars. So the next book that I read, or the final book that I read for the month, was called The Forever War by Joe Haldeman. It was a library book, so I will put the cover up somewhere in post. It was really, really good. I gave that one 4 stars. It's very anti-war. You can definitely tell that the writer is a veteran. Even if I hadn't read the foreword and learned that he was a Vietnam vet, I think I would have picked up on the fact that he is a veteran. So the depictions of war and how kind of futile it is, those are really, really good parts of the book. The descriptions of like how, like the science, so like the time dilation of how years would pass back on Earth. So they go out into outer space to fight this enemy, the Tarns, and they really don't know what they're going up against. They don't even know what they look like until they have their first battle with the Tarns, with this alien race that attacked some humans and started the war and everything. And so when they go out into outer space, and the time dilation through these like wormholes basically that they have to go through to get out far outer space, that makes it so that they don't age as much as everyone back on Earth, which is a real thing. Even when we send astronauts up into space, we can tell that physically they have aged less while they're in space than if they had been on Earth. Like they've tested them like physically and stuff like that and have found that it's not significant, but the further out you go, the theory is, I vaguely understand the science, but the theory is that the further out you go, then the more the time dilation would happen. And so by the time you got back to Earth, you would not be as old. Let's say you had a twin and your twin stayed on Earth and you went in outer space. You would come back and your twin would be older than you because of reasons, because of science. So it's really interesting to see what he does with that. And like the tech and stuff, the mech suits, kind of like, or if you play Fallout, like the power armor that they have to get into. I really liked the descriptions of how you had to be super careful. He describes like the pressure that you use in your hands. Like if you're gonna pick up something, like and you want it to just be like very, like if you just want to grip it normally in your mech hands, you have to like almost kind of put the amount of pressure on it that you would just be like kind of barely touching it. Because if you go to like grip it like normal, it like exponentially like multiplies your grip strength, and so like you could accidentally like crush a big rock in your hand by just gripping it normally. So that was cool. Like how the suits kept themselves cool, and if it got damaged, it could either like, you know, liquefy you basically in your suit and everything. Is, I don't know, the science part was really, really cool. There's another little bit of a love story, and I was rooting for them the whole time. And the thing I didn't like about the book is that it's very, he has opinions on hetero and homosexuality. And there's a part in the book where, so again, he's been away from Earth for so long, and a lot of things have changed on Earth. Like a couple 100 years have passed on Earth, and only like 20 some have passed for him. And so these new recruits come in, and he finds out basically that Earth now, all of the humans are homosexual, and heterosexuality is looked at as a disease, like you're messed up in the head. And so if they find out that you're a heterosexual on Earth, you go to kind of like a rehab, kind of like how they have gender therapy here. Not gender therapy. Yeah, gender therapy. I forget the exact term. But where they try to make, here in current times and in the past, where they try to take gay people and force them to be straight, they are doing that to the hetero people. And so Mandela finds out that all of humanity is gay, so he's allowed to stay hetero because like he's from before that time, and so, you know, we'll overlook your condition is kind of like what they say. And so he's kind of put off by that, but he doesn't make like a huge deal of it. Like he's not a complete bigot. However, there's a point where it's implied that he won't even try to like be that way, which is fine. I don't expect someone that's hetero to just magically turn homosexual, because that's not how it works. So But in the story, he's like, no, I could never. But then he turns around and tells this other person, this male, this homosexual male, well, I mean, you'll be fine if you turn hetero. Like, it's not gonna hurt you. And he's like, you'll like it, don't worry. And I'm like, but what if he doesn't? And so I had to like really roll my eyes at the author, because I'm like, Joe, that's not how that works. You can't just like toggle your sexuality to suit society's needs. like it's a magic button. Like, so yeah, so that was like, it would have been 5 stars if it wasn't for that weirdness. Like, so but I really enjoyed it. I really liked the message of the book. The ending was really good, like top-notch ending. Again, kind of a weird opinion on the hetero homosexual thing, but I mean, what are you gonna do? No. So yeah, that's it. That's my meager wrap up for June. I am about 3/4 of the way of Blue Feather Fellini in the Sacred Realm. I'm pushing through. I never thought that reading a Western that is also kind of a journey to the center of the earth kind of story could be so boring. Like, I don't really know what the point of the story is. It took almost half the book to get to anything resembling any kind of interesting point. There's way too much of like, and then the group had a party, and they drank, and they danced, and they talked, and it's almost like when you watch a Quentin Tarantino movie, and they have those weird, like, dialogues, but they're interesting, even if it's, whatever they're saying is, like, stupid, the way he does it is interesting. That's that, but it's not interesting. Like, I don't care about you guys eating chili burritos and drinking whatever and then dancing more. I'm a very introverted person. I don't like to go to parties. I don't want to read about parties. But that's what the first half of this book is, just stupid. And then right now there was like a weird conflict between the two like love interests. And I was like, okay, cool. Like this will create some tension. And then poof, it's fine. It's fine. It's just instantly fixed. Like, I don't know what the stakes are for this book. I don't. So anyway, I'm hoping I finish it, because there are parts that are interesting, like the descriptions of like the creatures and stuff that he finds. I was really hoping for more. He has a spirit guide. Blue Feather has a spirit guide, like a Native American spirit guide, and I was really hoping for more of like that character. And he shows up now and then and just kind of acts like an imaginary friend that like dances and like makes like weird riddle jokes, and then he leaves again. So I don't know. Anyway, that's my June wrap up. Thank you for coming. Everyone have a good one. I hope you guys had a really good June reading month. A really good reading month in June. I need a script. I just need a script and stop like doing this stuff. I'm not good at this. Anyway, yeah, that's all I have for you. The next video will be my very optimistic plans for July, because I have bitten off way more than I can chew, and I know that now, and I'm still chewing it. So we'll see. All right, thanks guys, have a good one.